Okay, we're live on Facebook, live on YouTube, live on Zoom. We're going to play the intro, allow people time to come in, and then get to know our brother on screen. We've not met before, but he does some powerful stuff. I was checking it out. Paul Doucette, he'll be up in just a second. How's it going, everybody? This is our third show of 4 today. They're all powerful. I'm excited to be sitting down with this brother. He's been doing some really great work out there. It's nice to see when a really balanced masculine's out there putting out the kind of stuff that he's putting out. His name's Paul Doucette. I think I got that right, or Doucette. We're going to pull him up now. And if these shows resonate with you, please share. We are broadcasting on YouTube and 3 Facebook platforms and in Zoom, but we're still getting suppressed on the algorithms. And thank you all for your continued love and support and contributions that allow us to keep doing this every day in this transition we call ascension. So let me pull him up now, and let's get to know him a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. How's it going, brother?
Oh, everything is going good. Do you have me on video?
Yes, we do. We have you on video. You're good.
Okay, here we are. Good to go.
Yeah.
All right. Good Friday. Good day to do a show.
Yeah, it's a powerful day. I didn't really, I don't know if there's any, alignment or reason for that because of the date or the day, but yeah, I could feel it when I woke up this morning. The first 2 shows have been really powerful, and I know this one is. I went to your page a few days ago, and I was checking it out, plus those 3 images you sent me, and it's some really powerful stuff. Those images are very unique. We'll pull them up on the screen a little bit later in the program, and you can tell us about them. I'm assuming that you download those and create them, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's all intuitively channeled and brought through for the benefit of the viewers, for the individuals and the groups that I create these for.
Yeah, wow. And so, like I was saying at the top of the show, as we're getting ready for it, there's been what? I started really getting acclimated with what we call, I guess, the light worker community, ascension community, back in like 2013. And there's always been kind of this anomaly, or I don't know what that's the right word, but it was like 85% of the people in the groups were women. Now it's dropped quite a bit, and there's been more men step in. And there was always a lot of men out there. I think maybe that was just part of the way the paradigm was set up to the point that brought us to this transition, as more women are stepping up to be heard. But you have a pretty balanced delivery. I looked at and actually shared a post that you wrote 3 years ago about the divine feminine stepping up and being written by a man. I was very impressed by it. You seem to have a good handle on it. When did you start doing this stuff? When did you wake up?
I would say that I began the process of questioning on a deeper level in 2007.
Yeah.
And it was 2013 is when I activated to my ability to channel light language and begin to work with this. But I would say from 2010, I became more active in a public way, interacting and communicating these sorts of awarenesses. And it's simply evolved naturally and organically from that point forward to where I was focusing on the spiritual aspects and discussing and living these more and more to where finally the light language within me became available in 2013 moving forward, where I've sort of transitioned into being more of a channel for this pure energy that we call light language, to be able to channel in that specific way. So from 2007 was when the questions could no longer be ignored, and that beginning focus of seeking answers began, evolving to this point now. It doesn't end.
Yeah. And so, like, I mean, I didn't ever really hear of light language. I know a lot of people must have experienced it or heard of it. I never really heard of it much until we really started getting into these shows around 2017 and really started to talk to a lot of different people. Was light language something that came in early on, like in those years, 2010, 2007 to 2010? And did you know what it was when it first started coming in?
I had first encountered light language in 2012 through a practitioner named Judy Satori out of New Zealand.
Yeah.
Now, I do not recollect how I came across this information. I found in my life how everything just simply seamlessly segues into one thing to the next. So I just remember that I was tuning into her work in 2012 and I was utilizing it in 2013 for the benefit of clearing karma and aligning the self to the soul. And it was within a few months of um, working with that seriously that I all of a sudden began to speak it on my own. So before 2012, I was not conscious of it. It simply came into my reality and began to alter and evolve my reality from that point forward.
Wow. Wow. And when you get this, when the light language came in then and as it comes in now, um, do they come with specific messages or is the code, obviously the code is in the frequency generated by the image and or the light language itself, but does it come with specific messages?
Well, I'm considered a voice worker, so that when I'm vocalizing in any form, I'm actually doing energy work. So just my speaking to you and the viewers, there's work being done. And what will occur when I'm speaking light language specifically is I will get a general understanding or have a clear intent of what wants to come through. And what I'm noticing is as I'm developing myself through my own inner work, and as I continue to work with clients, more information will come through. So there will be times when there will be clear messages within English that I
Yeah.
can share with the person or with groups. And for me, it's slowly evolving as I'm transmuting and processing my own trauma and programming from the egoic standpoint. I'm accessing more of my ability to channel. So it's the beautiful thing about this is that I might have this ability and be able to assist people, but it's also assisting me and evolving me as I go.
Yeah. Would you say there's a direct correlation to the inner work you're doing and your, um, I guess, your prowess and potential in terms of being able to receive that language and then share it?
I would say that for any of us that are light workers or energy workers or healers, it's our very lifestyle that enables this work to be accomplished. It was when I consciously made a decision to become more serious in my spiritual development rather than the intellectual development that I was
Yeah.
able to access light language.
Yeah.
And it continues to evolve from that point forward, where when you create an intent, not only to be of service to humanity and the earth and on all the beings that are involved in this, when you dedicate yourself to a life that is spiritual, that is when you're beginning to access more of your ability, because we're shifting our consciousness, which is shifting the vibration of the body that we reside within. They go hand in hand. If I wasn't doing inner work in order to shift my vibration, in order to attain higher consciousness and align with my soul, I would not be able to access these higher metaphysical capabilities. They're
Yeah.
innately built into every one of us, because the human skin suit is a technology that was organically evolved. We're
Yeah.
all capable of higher metaphysical, multidimensional awareness and capability and function within that. It's just that we're bogged down with the slower vibratory rates of the programming from the environment we were born into, the karma that we have attached to us through our soul contracts, life after life. So all it really is a matter of focus on doing the inner work to heal the self, to align the self to more of the balance, masculine, feminine, and access that oneness. And by doing this, we access our multidimensional selves, and we can utilize that to benefit our lives.
Yeah. So when this started, and even well, so when this started for you, were there specific energy complexes or entities or star family or essences that kind of brought you into the party?
The interesting thing with me is I can say that my channeling ability is still in formation, and up to this point, I have synchronistically connected with people that have a stronger channeling ability, where they have shared a lot of information with me that has assisted my awakening and assisted me to align to the work that I'm now doing and continuing to do moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's similar to like my first few years. I never seemed to be able to. Well, I did, but it seemed like that these individuals would pop in, like you said, synchronistically, and you can feel it, and they would have these specific messages. Per, most of the time that were kind of focused on my personal expansion, which was, obviously necessary for me to increase my own ability to receive. But now, so when you talk about being able to tap into, uh, as we all can, but in your own experience, do you, I mean, is it like in your daily routine, do you go out and specifically look to locate certain information or look to connect, or does it just come in naturally?
Honestly, once you find your niche or your individual spiritual practice, this is what I was saying about lifestyle and living spirituality. When you're living it, it's 24/7.
Yeah,
Once
true.
you commit to that, you cannot leave it, you cannot stop it. It's the multidimensional awareness is always present because we
Yeah,
are multidimensional beings. So for me, I will just be going about my day, and I will get certain guidance and certain intuition or inspiration. Also, like sometimes I will genuinely feel a pang, a ping of intuition, I call it, where you just feel this energetic ping, like it
yeah,
just hits you. And then you sort of, okay, what is this? And then you allow that energy to flow in whatever form that it takes.
yeah,
And it is different for everybody because we are individuated expressions of source. We all have different soul experience that we're drawing upon. So how each individual taps into that state of consciousness is a unique path for them
yeah,
to discover. It's our own evolution and what we call the ascension process.
yeah. And there's obviously, I'm going to pull these images up in a second. I've got four of them, and thank you for that last one. I just saw that when I pulled them up. Um, they obviously have an activating aspect to them. You can feel it, as well as just being, being in a conversation with you, as you alluded to earlier. Um, in the work that you do, are these images created as a result of your natural flow in and out, day in, day out? Are they created specifically for, let's say, a client, or uh, something comes in and says, hey, we're about to go through this period. Here's the information and code, put it on paper and share it with people? I mean, how does that work for you?
It's a combination of all of the above, where the sigil that I created for you was right before the show. I felt an excitement and felt it would be fun and good to create the sigil for you, in specificity this show. So the sigil that I had created for you and I just recently sent is specifically for you, in alignment with the show in and of itself. So it's sort of a personal sigil and a sigil for the show. So that sigil there. Now, what can happen is if a client contacts me and desires a personalized sigil, it is in the very moment that somebody contacts me with an intent, with a clear intent, that something will come through. So not only do I create sigils through artwork or writing light language, I will transmit and create transmissions for individuals as well to assist their development, where
Wow.
I found that as soon as somebody contacts me, within seconds, I have already tuned into their being and information is already coming through. And that's how I'm able to be of service. So generally, on the other side of things, when I'm generally creating something for the overall public, I will just be doing whatever I'm doing. I could be cooking, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden I'll receive information that wants to be expressed. And it's only when I actually sit down and I work on a digital software known as Krita. So I will receive an indication that something wants to come through, and then I will actually sit at my desk at the computer, and as I'm thinking about it, the information will come through about the the shape, the geometry, the color, the different symbols in the script that I bring through. It's so in the moment.
Wow.
It's immediate.
Now, as an example, we'll use this one as an example, because this is very, to me, it is very unique and original. And I've seen some stuff that was unique in its own right, but this carries a lot of power emanating from it. So you're saying, in this case, the individual, who was me, I guess, came into you tapped into my field, and you created this as you were nudged to do it. How long did something like this take? It looks like it would take quite a while.
Um, Honestly, the slowest part of this process is when my ego gets in the way and I
Uh,
start to get into the perfectionist of trying to make something look what I believe to be good.
uh-huh.
So when I actually allow the energy to flow, this this specific sigil took maybe 12 minutes.
God. And now, is there, like, when you do something like this, is there, and maybe it's the ego getting in the way, me, and the potential of the question, but is there a specific message, or is it just the overall combination of frequencies presented as a vibration to whoever's experiencing it?
The image for you is, it can be difficult to try to describe these concepts in English terms.
Yeah.
It's multi-dimensional, it's holographic, so there's a lot of information encoded within that. It's layered, and it's meant to be looked at, and it's holographic in nature. When you're looking at it, it's sort of popping off of the screen at you.
Yeah.
But this particular piece is in relation to the throat
Mm.
and in relation to the earth. So for you specifically, it's about tuning the throat chakra in relation to the work that you do, as well as
Uh,
just for you as a person individually. the orange is in relation to the sacral, and this feels like this is rooting and bringing up this energy, this creation energy within you, and this is assisting with the spoken work that you do.
Yeah.
So this is anchoring sort of an activation for the sacral and the throat, and aligning these energies so that you can be of better service in the work that you're doing with your show.
Yeah.
But what's also happening in the sigil is that there's a dual purpose because of the show that you do and the commitment you have to it, because I'm aware that you've been doing this for a number of years and I've seen you doing it for years. This sigil is connecting to the show, and it's sort of like an activator for the show itself, because what's occurring is when you've created this show and the words that you attach to it and how you go about it, it becomes its own energy.
Yeah.
It is its own energetic expression. So you are the show, and yet the show is also in and of itself. So this sigil is intertwining you and the show as an overall activation to assist in the development of you and the show in conjunction, in parallel with one another.
Wow.
There are also frequencies. I don't really like to get into protection. I have done sigils for house protection. I have done home clearings and things, but mainly this is for the clarity for yourself and this show.
Yeah.
So the frequencies are encoded so that it is helping to create a clarity around the show, so that there isn't as much interference, white noise in the background, you could say.
Yeah.
Because those of us that are involved in these operations do have certain layers and degrees of interference. So I don't feel like it's a protection in some kind of fear way. It's just that it's being conscientious of how things are interacting energetically on this planet and doing things that can assist us to better our goal, our intent, to create an energy to bring us forward.
Wow. That's fascinating. And all of it resonates from the beginning in regard to the sacral and the throat to everything else you said. And yeah, I agree with you. I think to me, it's more like strengthening the field. You know, I don't really go into the protection thing either. But yeah, I see it as an strengthening of the field. But it's quite fascinating. And I really want to just say thank you on behalf of myself, Morgan, and Sology. This is an incredible sigil. And I've never seen anything like it. You want to take a look at these other three and kind of go through those and then get back to some other stuff? Is that cool?
We are welcome to do so. We can try. I always will bring these through, and then I can look at them in one moment and get one thing and get another thing the next.
Yeah.
So this sigil that we're looking at now is more recent. And what I've done lately is I've brought through frequencies that are assisting the collective right now in relation to the quarantine, the medical quarantine.
Okay.
So this sigil, generally speaking, is about calmness. It's a portal, so that when you're looking at the color bands around it, it's like a stargate. It's a portal. It's drawing you into it, and it's creating like a womb space of safety for the viewer. And what I realized when I was looking at it yesterday actually was this is specifically to do with bringing a kind of calm and an expanded awareness for people in relation to what's occurring now with coronavirus. So this is about, if you have that connection to your soul or to oneness or to all that is, you generally tend to have a bigger picture view of reality. And so it's much easier for people with this consciousness to remain in a space of calm and to be able to direct their attention and create reality for themselves.
Yeah.
And this sigil is more for those that have not quite created that reality for themselves. This is a portal into that reality where you are a sovereign being, you are in alignment with creation at all times. And when you have this knowledge, you are honestly calm, centered, and there is always a solution to every problem. So
Yeah.
that is all encoded within this one sigil.
Wow. Let's come back to the other two and take this one in. That's again, that's something that really resonates, and I can understand it. Even though if you asked me to explain it, I probably couldn't explain it. I'm pretty good at doing that, but it captures well everything you said and everything that image is putting out. Really captures the opportunity and the reality of what's going on, as opposed to so much of what's seen out there in terms of the fear-based programming or the savior-based programming. The reality is that, I mean, to me anyway, and you can correct me or add to it or whatever, subtract or whatever, but it's like it's saying, here's what's available to you. It's here, and I don't want to say waiting on you, but it's here and it's here to be utilized, or you can keep playing in the the pre-existing lower vibrational conditioning programs that we've all come out of. Does that kind of capture some of what you just said? I mean, it's kind of a snapshot of what's available here now.
It's genuinely free will. We exist within a free willed universe where you're the one creating this. And when we combine and become that collective, we're the ones creating it.
Yeah.
So we're always connected to the multidimensional awareness, the bigger picture. It's just a choice of whether we do so or not.
Yeah.
And I mean, the way that I see reality is that we're simply children in a sandbox, and we're just creating with the sand. That is what creation is.
Yeah.
And there's different layers to this, what we call the densities and the dimensions. We chose to create these realities so that we could have these experiences. So on one level, the people that are committed to this reality and maintaining this reality chose that through their higher self choosing. They created this, we co-created it with them, and now we're within it. So some of us are choosing to remain within this construct, and others are simply evolving out of the box, you could say, where it served a purpose. We wanted to create something. We wanted to create this so that we could experience and gain from that experience. That is the purpose of creation and existence. Is we create experiences so that we can experience them, so that we can learn from them, and that we can then continue to create other experiences. It's a never-ending, eternal flow. And some get caught in the creation process and become attached.
Yeah.
And others do not. So really all that's occurring on the planet in the bigger picture scheme of things is that everyone is given a free will choice right now to expand their awareness and to become more conscious of what's occurring around them, or to remain within a tunnel vision view of reality and what is and what isn't. So when we talk about the ego and the belief systems, the programming, the programmers are programmed. So for them, they exist within tunnel vision. They're attached to the creation. They're not able to perceive outside of that reality. They're clinging to it.
Yeah.
And then you have those of us that agreed to come into this reality and assist the collective consciousness and the earth consciousness to remove that consciousness to a degree where people could then make a choice. So I perceive that choice point was reached December 21st, 2012. And from that point forward, we're simply existing in a reality where those of us that have that bigger picture are holding the space. And we are here for our brothers and sisters, and we are here for the earth, and we will continue to do our work until such time that we are guided to go elsewhere, to do otherwise. But we're going to continue to hold the light as you do with your shows and I do with light language, where we are giving everybody on this planet, that is everybody. There's no specificity with that. Everybody has free will choice. Everybody gets to choose right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to continue to create in a different arena, or do you want to remain in this arena and create within this structure? That's simply all that we're doing. So,
Yeah.
I mean, in specific, in relation to coronavirus, this is offering people more choice. We are continuing to unravel a reality where around every corner you have a choice in every moment. This has occurred. What do you want to do now? Do you want to continue to be disempowered and play the fear, or do you want to learn by this experience and begin to evolve yourself and step out of that paradigm? Because what's fascinating to me is, whilst we're existing within this current reality and we perceive the different layers of it, because it's all multidimensional, all dimensions are existing at once, and we're just perceiving different layers of that. Whilst all of this seemingly negative expressions are occurring, there's a simultaneously there's a new earth being formed.
Yeah.
So when you have the bigger picture perspective, you can see that on certain layers, with the coronavirus as an example, there are negative connotations attached to this and reasons and agendas behind it. But when you look at the shift in consciousness and the overall plan, the divine plan in place, this is also leading to a liberation of humanity at the same time.
Yeah.
It's all happening at once. It's all unfolding organically.
Several people, I don't want to say a lot, I mean, I don't know what that means, but quite a few people have come on this show and otherwise, at least over the last year and a half or 2 years, even going back to Dolores Cannon in Convoluted Universe, talking about two Earths. Some people talk about a great divide, a split, the wheat and the chaff in the Bible and all that different stuff. Do you see, how do you, because you kind of said it a minute ago, some people are going to stay in the existing and some people are choosing to take the lesson and move onward and become, I guess, more consciously creating a new earth, or however you want to put it. How do you see that? Does that make sense to you, that there are two different earths, or are we talking dimensions? And
I've been mulling this over for years, ever since I came across this information, and it's been evolving and developing as I'm doing my inner work and evolving my consciousness. But we are multidimensional, so we're already present within multiple realities or densities or dimensions right now in this moment.
Yeah.
So some of us are, or you could say, in the third density, and some of us are already in the fourth or higher density, because it's just a state of being. It's a state of awareness. It's a vibrational rate. So the earth herself is already vibrating at a multidimensional frequency. Like when you tune into the inner earth, they're already at a faster vibratory rate, what we call a higher density.
Mm-hmm.
Your atoms are vibrating faster, and therefore they're in a more expanded consciousness. They're already present within the earth and helping us on the surface of the earth. So when you understand that, you see that we're already in a multiple density environment now. True. And different people are in different stages of their consciousness, interacting with that environment in their own unique expression. And when it comes to what we call the ascension, and what does it look like and how does it work metaphysically, the science of the universe and how things actually function, I've gotten to a point where I feel that I'm not trying to belittle anything in saying this. I'm just saying that when we take the multidimensional consciousness and we bring it into the earth human structure, we limit it. So when we talk about
Yeah.
the splitting of the earth in two earths, is that really literally what's going to occur, or is it just that in order for our intellectual brains to fathom this kind of shift, it's described to us in a way that's
Yeah.
simplified?
Yeah.
So from what I've been experiencing and how I'm developing and evolving is that we're already in a multiple reality environment. And when what we call the ascension occurs, there's going to be many avenues for individuals to take.
Yeah.
Not only is this a collective ascension for the collective consciousness of humanity and the other beings involved on this planet, as there's many other beings here with us, it's also an individual process. And it's in direct relation to who you are as a soul, what choices you've made, and what you align with. So not only are we in a multiple density Earth currently, there's also the multiple timelines. This is why so much of the metaphysical teachings are simplified in an attempt to explain this as easily as possible, where we not only have multiple densities and multiple beings that are interacting on these densities, we have many timelines in direct relation to this earth. So when you're talking about ascension, what timeline are you discussing? What person are you interacting with in that moment?
Yeah.
Everything is energy, and every moment we're aligned to one thing or another. So every time you ask a person their view of what ascension looks like, they're tuning into their own timeline. They might not realize it because we are collectively sharing experiences, but we're also individually creating experiences. So your ascension process may not be my ascension process. We could end up, you would experience it as a completely new earth. And I might not be there on that new earth, and you would no longer experience me in your reality.
Yeah.
And yet in my reality, I'm on a new earth experiencing my new reality. So it's a combination of what density are you existing on and what timeline are you in that moment, because there's Bashar, a famous channeler, has said every time you blink you enter a new timeline. Like every thought you have, every second you're aligning to different timelines, and we don't realize it. We're not consciously noticing the shift energetically that's occurring, because for us it's fluid, like a river. We're just flowing down this river of the experience that we've created for ourselves, but in truth there's an infinity of timelines. So there is no one size fits all. There is no, oh, there's only going to be two earths, all of these people are going to do this and all of these other people are going to do that. It gets to an expanded point where you're going to do what you're going to do and don't worry about everybody else.
Exactly.
It's not what we're here for.
Yeah, whether you accept it or not. All right. Let go or be dragged, because you're right. And you're right, too, about the human language, the efforts to explain it in the human language. First of all, you can't do it any justice. And anyone and everyone that's had any type of connection or transmission or dimensional, interdimensional experience knows what I'm talking about. You know, near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, telepathy is the rule. Is the rule. I mean, you're right. And when we start to explain it, I get what you're saying. We actually kind of bring in limitations. So that's an interesting part of what's happening as we kind of move into a less verbalization, more of I guess communication from the universal mind we all share in forms such as the images that you put out there. Now with the light language, now when you in your relationship with the light language, do you speak light language or do you just pull it in, write it, and make the images?
I began speaking in 2013, and it wasn't until 2018. I believe 2017 or 18 is when yeah, 2017, actually, at the end of 2017, I was doing a 1 month dieta here in Peru. And I wrote light language, I think, for one of the first times. So it's only recently that I began writing it and creating the imagery that people see, and people can label it however they want to label it. I'm not attaching to the words. I do my best to try to convey the energy of what it is in terms that are understandable regarding to our definition. So sigil is something that describes the kind of imagery that I'm creating, where it's magic as it's understood in a more common lingo. We're magicians, and this is a magical symbol, which is, I'm encoding it with my intent. So that's what's a sigil is, the definition of that. And so I simply label it as such.
I'm glad you told me that, because I had that in my head. But you know how you don't want to ask a question because you don't want people to think you're stupid? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I have that all the time.
But because I've seen the glyphs and the other terms that they've used, but I've never heard the sigil. You mentioned Inner Earth civilization a few minutes ago, and that's always been something that has been in my field. I don't fully understand it. I haven't had a lot of engagements with them, at least that I can recall. Had a few, but it always seems to be right there. And you spoke, in terms of having some knowledge of it, or maybe even some interaction. What role, if any, are they playing in regard to what we're doing? I know we're all in this together. And do you have any insight or intel from the Inner Earth?
The bigger picture with the Earth process is that there's many factions. There's many groups of beings involved. So specifically with the crust of the Earth, the beings that exist within the physical structure of our planet, there's many different groups. Now, the specific group that I'm connected to would be the Agartha network. And I perceive the Agartha network as what's the word? It's a conglomeration. It's different civilizations cohabitating and co-creating, and the specific purpose of the Agartha network that I'm connected to and aware of is I have a Pleiadian connection, and I came here 300,000 years ago as a Pleiadian to incarnate on the Earth, and the beings that I had trained with and grew up with and worked with are in the Agartha network, working with me and I them in order to bring about the liberation of the surface of the planet and the planet as a whole. And then that gets into the outer solar system as well. We're liberating the entire system.
Yeah.
So this specific group of people is like the Pleiadian-Syrian alliance, where it's groups of the Pleiadians and the Syrians. I do feel that you have a connection with this.
Yeah, this is
that are there. They're just it's about, we are in operations to liberate this planet. So it isn't just the spiritual component. There are the very real physical operations involved in removing technologies and factions and groups of beings that wish to remain within that tunnel vision of reality. So they're assisting us on the surface with, there's many operations going at all times.
Yeah. I mean, that's obvious. I mean, to me, that's one of the things that, with what's put out, like, what people call the mainstream media, what information is put out there, that there's so much going on beyond that, that stuff is really, it's almost irrelevant, although nothing is irrelevant. But, and I really, I resonate with what you said about the conglomerate specifically the Sirian Pleiadian connection too. And that is the same group that I guess that I kind of, and I'm not saying I'm associated in any way, I'm just saying it's been in my field, the Agarthians. And I've often
I
wondered
feel
about that.
Syrian connection with you.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. There's definitely that there. But I'm just saying that to me, it just feels like that conglomerate, that inner earth conglomerate is getting closer and closer and closer. And I don't know if that just means in my own field or collectively, but it feels like both.
I think what is occurring is that there are other groups within the inner earth that are doing their operations. And the thing that blows my mind, and I still can't fully process my head around intellectually, is the fact that the Earth's crust is upwards of 500 miles thick. Wow. And these civilizations are living within 100 to 300 miles deep within the crust. So when you look at the honeycomb structure of the Earth, there's actually more land mass within the Earth than there is on the surface. So you've got many, many civilizations within the Earth functioning, and some of them are working together and some of them are not. There's loose alliances. Yeah. But some are closer to the surface physically and some are deeper. But what I'm perceiving is that the closer we get to the point of liberation, I will explain it this way. Liberation of the surface needs to occur before we ever experience an ascension. So the physical removal of the technologies on the different densities that they exist within, like the technologies on the moon, within the astral, etheric, on the Earth, surrounding the Earth, all of these technologies and all of the beings that are associated with these technologies need to be removed for the Earth and the collective consciousness to then reset itself into a point where it can proceed with the ascension cycle. So as we're getting closer to the point of liberation, which is simply the removal of the interference and enabling us as a collective consciousness to then decide at that point, how do we want to proceed as a sovereign civilization, we are gaining further and further access and connection to our star family, these energies and this overall awareness, because they're showing themselves to us. I had my family physically visit me when I was 8 years old that I was able to remember. They enabled me to remember some of it, where they had landed in a Pleiadian scout craft at night, and I went to see them. They are in lower Earth orbit. They are cloaked. They are constantly doing operations and moving about. So not only are they coming up from the crust of the Earth, they're coming from the outer solar system inward. And as they do, they're removing more and more of the groups, the factions that are interfering with this ascension process. So this is all parallel. It's all lining up to, by the time we reach this point of liberation, we'll be consciously prepared for what we call disclosure. There'll be so much extraterrestrial and extra dimensional activity that will be primed. Even people within the general population that don't necessarily have these experiences will be primed and ready for it.
Yeah. And I wonder too, because of the apparent, the fact that this isn't just, an ascension for the surface of the Earth. I mean, this is solar system, galaxy, goes on and on. That there seems to be a great importance, I guess, of the human hybrid species. They're on the surface. I mean, some have some recall like you do, some don't, but that we're conscious 99% of the time. It's changing rapidly, but I mean, 99% of the time we're conscious as this human, knowing that it's probably less than 1% of our full consciousness in terms of our multidimensionality. But there seems to be some type of importance as we become more aware of what we really are and what we're really a part of, and how much we can actually influence. As you said at the top of the show, we actually create what's happening. I guess what I'm trying to say is, or ask, as the human species becomes more aware of its true nature and makes the choice energetically from the center of their own universe, uh, will we not have a direct and immediate impact on what we're experiencing collectively, and that will also affect our star family that's around us?
We're already having an effect on the star families and ourselves and the beings around us. We already have an effect on the collective consciousness. What will occur, what I'm perceiving as we were discussing earlier, is that each person will go into the reality that they're aligned with.
Okay.
And once we leave the limitation of this slavery system, the control structure, once we dismantle that and then give people their free will back, we'll then begin to shift into the ascension process where everyone will go with what they're aligned with. And when we're in those states of alignment, that's when the collective consciousness that we vibrationally attach to, you'll be living in a reality that you have a bit more control or a bit less or a lot more. It's
Yeah.
really in relation to what you're gravitating towards with your consciousness and your current vibration.
Yeah.
So yes, some say that we're going to the 5D and you'll be able to manifest. I mean, there's already examples of these occurring on this present earth.
Yeah.
It's just that it's more difficult to work with manifesting physical objects than it would be in what we call a 5D environment, because it's a faster vibrational rate. You have more access, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense to me, in that it's more of a, I mean, my question was more of a, how do you contribute to the collective, but really it gets back to taking that personal responsibility of where you want to be. And that's what you're saying. We're going to choose where we want to go. And by virtue of that, those pieces will compose and construct a collective experience that we all share.
Yeah, you as an individual are not responsible for the universe. The universe is responsible for the universe. So it's really a matter of become sovereign.
Yeah.
Do the inner work and align yourself to become sovereign and do what you feel aligned to do in every moment. That's all that matters. And we will continue to evolve into spaces where we'll be more aligned with each other.
Yeah.
And co-creating more consciously.
I think it was Denise Chadwick earlier mentioned on that first image that something about some of the, and I may have this wrong, some of the images that you've created in regard to dragon energy. Do you, and then somebody else mentioned that they saw soft dragon energy in the second image. Do you, have you created images? Do you create images expressing the dragon code or dragon energy?
I've done a number of dragon images specifically where there are actual dragons, which I've then put coding into that image for people's path and development. I've done another one where dragon imagery was sort of visually represented, sort of. And then the interesting with multidimensional awareness is that I'm classified as a soul braid. So there's different streams of consciousness cohabitating this physical body.
Yeah.
You could say.
Yes.
So it was described to me that in 2016, I fully anchored my dragon aspect into my body. And from that point forward, I've been aligning to that consciousness in order to utilize that energy for not only the liberation of the planet and humanity, but also for the ascension process as well.
Yeah.
But it's been described to me that I have a Pleiadian Anunnaki soul braid. And later on in my life, like I said, in 2016, I had the dragon incorporated into that soul braid.
Yeah.
So when I'm creating something, there's a base energy that I'm projecting, and that can be coming from different aspects of my soul self, multidimensional self.
Yeah.
And the dragons and the dragon energy on Earth right now is very needed, and it's stabilizing everything. The
Yeah.
dragons from all different realities are very much so creating, assisting the other star races as well to stabilize this whole process. So they're assisting in our awakening. They're helping to stabilize the energies in the planet. You've got people describing the earth dragons, the elemental dragons, the solar, the cosmic, galactic. There's many different
Yeah.
species we could say of dragon. So I have a rainbow dragon aspect, and this rainbow dragon aspect is ninth and up density vibration. So like hangs out in the ninth, but is 11th density
Mm-hmm.
vibratory rate. And everyone has their own views on metaphysics and how the galaxy looks and how it exists. So most people will say that there's 12 densities, but this dragon self is just 24/7. It's a part of my being. It's who and what
Yeah.
I am. So this energy is always coming through in everything that I'm creating. And some people will pick up on that, and sometimes it will come through more strongly depending on who I'm working with.
Yeah. Yeah. I noticed. I know in with Morgan and I, they really started to come in the fall of October or so of 2018, and then I noticed that a lot of people started talking about it, having visitations, having experiences as we got into 2019, which is continued in 2020. We've had quite a few, and they've been very, very important, very significant, very activating, and elevating. Um, one of them that in particular that seems to really stand out are these twin silver dragons. Does that is that familiar to you at all?
No, what I received was a darker green dragon for you specifically.
Okay.
I just perceived this being is connected to you. The thing is, there's like I've got dragon guardians, and I myself am considered a dragon on the soul aspect, one of my aspects. There's so many. There's as many different dragon races as there are other races,
Yeah.
and I don't have the details regarding these species
Yeah.
or individual cases. There's just all I can say is what I feel, and I just feel that I am connected to the dragon energy, and it's very strong.
Yeah.
But the dragons care a great deal. The ones that have agreed to assist Mother Earth,
Yeah.
and so we're doing our utmost to uphold the integrity of this world.
Yeah, it's definitely a no BS frequency. There's no doubt about that. But also for me anyway, for us, I mean, it's been, I mean, the field of its love frequency is just second to none. It's incredible.
Yeah,
Um,
there's we're warriors, and we're doing the work. We're doing the dirty work. We're doing what needs to be done, but we do this from a place of very strong compassion.
yeah.
Where again, when you understand creation in the bigger picture, this is all an experience. We're all just simply cohabitating and co-creating within this universe, and we're experiencing a balancing of the universe.
Yeah.
So there's certain things that simply are required to be done to attain that balance. So on one level of consciousness, that can be perceived as evil or good, and on another level of consciousness, there's no duality. It just is what it is,
Yeah.
and we're playing roles. So some of us as the warriors are doing the messy bit, and that energy can be perceived by some people as dark or scary or
Yeah.
intimidating.
Yeah.
For those of us that understand that warrior energy, um, it's necessary and it's not scary. It's not a bad thing. We're
Mm.
coming from a very strong place of integrity and love and honor and respect, and we love this earth
Yeah.
so deeply that no human words can convey that, and
Yeah.
that's what we're here for.
Yeah. Well, what about these? these partnerships that seem to be popping up more and more and more every day. Some people call them divine union. Uh, People use the term twin flame, which has been distorted a lot, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. But there seems to be these couplings occurring that seem to be intricately woven into uh, the further expansion of uh, the higher frequency, maybe to match the Earth or to collectively expand. Do you have any intel on these conscious unions, these divine unions?
I just recently, at the end of last year, came into contact with my counterpart, and it's been very wild, very difficult because of the programming and the trauma and the karma that is attached to either one of us. So
Right.
it is a very rapid progression of you need to look at this, you need to deal with it, stop hiding. And it's
Yeah.
not easy emotionally or intellectually to deal with. So it's very upsetting on one level in the physical human personality, day-to-day living level. And what I understand from these agreements, as it's more of a soul contract, soul agreement, there's I mean, you're being of service because of the work that you do in the show. And then at the same time, multidimensionally, you're doing work that's assisting the overall liberation and ascension process. So when it comes to the divine counterparts, you have one in us from Australia, and my divine counterpart is in Australia right now as well, and I'm Canadian. So we're at opposite ends of the planet, and yet we have a very strong magnetic pull and connection to one another. So I I perceive this as an extension of the grid work that's being done because I connect into and work with the crystal grid on this planet. What people call the ley lines or the dragon lines or the crystal grid, or like the Aborigine of Australia call it like the Rainbow Road and such. Um, there's individuals that are planted on the planet within the grid doing certain work, anchoring certain codes, and when two beings that are considered to be of the same soul, the twin flame, connect, there's an amplification, there's a purification, and there's an amplification effect where we're just going into the next stage of the energy work that we're doing. So there's the work that you're consciously doing as Todd, the personality, and then there's the work that you and Morgan are doing multidimensionally, spiritually, energetically. So to me, the twin flame gets more into the multidimensional energetic works that we do, which for a lot of us is in dream time and astral traveling and unconscious to us. But it's a very powerful mechanism to clear out the grid, to clean it, to reset us, to give humanity that free will choice point. So more and more of these beings are aligning as we're getting closer to that point to strengthen the grid, because each one of us is, I'm in northern Peru right now. I believe you're in the United States in the south. Each one of us is physically located on specific node points within the crystal grid. And we're anchoring and channeling the energies that are assisting that region. And we're all creating a network. So when the divine counterparts come into union in the physical, there's an even stronger activation and more energy can come through us as a conduit. So on a general level, that's what I believe is the twin flame purpose, is they are acting as co-conduits, bringing in as strong an energy as is humanly possible to assist in this shift, and that aligns with the autistic children, the crystal children, the rainbow children. We're basically gearing up to bring in as fast a vibratory rate as this collective consciousness and our physical bodies can take. We're going as fast and we're doing as much as we can.
That was a great
the divine plan.
It's a great explanation. and I can vouch for that. It is very much the higher selves, or multidimensional selves, whatever you want to say it, are driving it. And then the human connection is quite fascinating. I mean, yeah, you're right about the challenges that came with it. We've been on it for a while, so it's gotten easier and easier. But it's been more of like a dual reflection of the singular experience, and that the higher self is coming in to the human aspect and kind of having more influence and more of the guidance system. And then when there's two of them, there's kind of, I don't know, just like a wild card energy that, you know, when we hit certain points or periods where we integrate perfectly aligned, or however you want to put it, and it can come at any time, and so much gets opened up, you know, so much information, code comes in, just all different kinds of things. But it seems to be coming more and more to the surface. I mean, I'm seeing more and more of them out there. There's also some that one's incarnated and one's in the non-physical realm, same sex. There's all different kinds of variations. But the thing that I'm seeing happening is that they are some type of, you know, prominent conduit anchoring in this higher frequency, sacred wisdom, whatever you want to call it. And it's real. Yeah, it's definitely real.
Yeah, part of it on the personal level is it's like a backup mechanism, like a safety mechanism that's in place where you agreed to come to Earth to be of service, and now this being is coming in at this point in time in your journey, and your connection is going to kick your asses to get you in gear.
Yeah, I can vouch for that one. Although I think I'm past the worst part. Although I don't want to dare the universe to kick me harder. But no, it's a fast track. One thing about it, and everyone I've talked to, it's a fast track. It's an opportunity to fast track even faster than you might want to go. But it's definitely picking up pace, and there's more of it coming together. Yeah, we went over a little bit. Man, I'd love to collaborate with you again. We could probably talk for hours and hours. We didn't really touch the surface, but is there anything that you want to talk about before we check out? Anything that you want to do? Any light language? Any messages? Any advice? Any subject that you might want to talk about? Anything at all?
I'll just bring through that I'm known as Drifting Voice on Facebook, where you can find me for my services if people are curious to check me out. My personal profile is Paul Anthony Doucette, and they can see how my name is spelled through your link here. I'm simply here living my simple life, being in the flow to the best of my ability, and I will do what I can when I'm able to assist people. And I've simply found that light language is how I'm able to do that. And what I would like to do is I'll bring some audio transmission through people to give them a taste.
Okay.
And this is sort of an attunement for you. I've been getting the feeling the last few days to work on your crown and third eye, to assist in the energies that are coming through you. When we talk about channeling, everything is coming through the crown downward. In this work, you're accessing that as well. So this can assist to clarify the energy and streamline it. It's to make it better and easier for your body to process this. So we have to town solo yeshe atento to yawaye oya taya kanto isato na otaiteta. And when I move my hands like this, it's known as signing. And it's another form of light language where it's like multidimensionally. I'm accessing your auric field in different aspects, and I'm just sort of tweaking the energy, and then I'm verbalizing and speaking it, and so they're amplified, and the work can be done more effectively and efficiently. So wita nuyetan sauta ye torawe shai totam tawita kutrayan Otai hauita yishi tantola mokayala yete son taula. Sala hina wisha atotokomyo ya yishi ne taul o ye alea sototamayetalo ayeta us ale amao de isha tehton talo yetala yellow hagayete kumnevalo tawala e. Now this is helping to assist in the energy that streams in through the crown and the third eye. This generally relates to the intellectual grasping of the information. So this is assisting you in the downloads that you receive, under being able to access more of it in human terms. And then I had some beings come through that are connected to, that are assisting in this as well. Because a lot of the crown and third eye activity is about the translation of the energy that we're perceiving and how we're able to utilize it and work with it. So in your own journey, this is assisting in you opening up to that information so that you can perceive it and work with it. It's about the translation of it, because we're always receiving. The energy is always present. We're always channeling.
Yeah.
But there's blocks emotionally and psychologically, belief systems and things that cause us to negate the energy, or we just simply don't pay attention to it, or because of belief systems, we can't quite grasp what is trying to be conveyed.
Good stuff, man. Yeah, I'd love to get together with you again if you're open to it. I did tag your name on this live. So anybody that's watching this live or on the replay, all you have to do is just go back to the live and click on his name, and you'll go right to his page.
And then you can find my business page as well for direct messaging for services if they're interested.
Right on, right on. How long are you going to be in Peru? Do you know?
Honestly, man, I have been here since 2014.
Oh, so I thought you were just visiting. So you're
no. My soul told me to come, and I came. I decided that it was time for me to walk my talk and to live my path.
Yeah.
And until my soul tells me otherwise, I will continue to be here. So it's funny with the bigger picture thing. Coronavirus kicks in, and so now I can't leave the country. I can't travel. So there are plans in place for me to get to Australia, where my divine counterpart is residing.
Yeah.
But the universe has other plans. So it's really a matter of, I'm not in control. I'm just in the flow.
Yeah.
No, and what will be, will be. So I'll leave Peru when it's time for me to leave.
Yeah, I totally relate to that. Well, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for honoring us with your presence and sharing space and your experience with us. And I hope to do it again sometime. And all blessings to you and yours. You take care. Peace out. Thanks, Paul.